Hi, I'm Yvo.
And I'm Bram. Hi.
Hi Bram, good that
Hey.
you're here. Good that I found you. You wanted to talk about mocking today?
Yes, I wanted to briefly explain what mocking is from a tester point of view.
Okay.
It's similar, but a little bit different than you would do with unit tests, for example.
Yeah, in unit tests we mock dependencies.
Exactly, and you don't want to be you have to rely on your code, and you don't want to be held reliable. Or you don't have to be
Responsible for the external dependencies.
exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. So you take that part away, and with API mocking we do the same thing. So we have, for example, if we have a website, it calls an API in the backend, and that API is not always available or reliable.
Yeah.
So if we mock this, it's the same with unit testing. You get more reliability. You isolate your tests in the front end because you have control over what you see and what you don't see, and performance is better, simulation is better, everything is better.
Yeah, normally we do integration testing, I think. Then we use the website that is deployed and connected to the API and the database because you want the full integration.
Yeah, exactly. And then you would use an end-to-end test, but then you are dependent on two systems, on a front-end system and a back-end system. So earlier on in the process, if you are responsible for the front-end, for example, and the back-end isn't ready because reasons, then you can use mock. And today I wanted to show you a brief demo how you would do this in Playwright, because Playwright is equipped with a mocking capability, so to speak. Okay. You don't have to install anything; it's out of the box. For this demo, I chose to use Typescript because it runs easier in your VS Code.
Yeah.
So it's just for convenience. In C# and in Java and in Python it's almost the same.
Okay.
But
VS Code with TypeScript is a bit more lightweight.
So this is a test. This is a very basic test. I'm going to go over the test briefly. As you see, it goes to a page to a local host because I run your front-end solution locally. Yeah. I'm checking for stuff if the page is loaded, and then I'm going to interact with the website by selecting an option, apparently. I'm going to search, and then I'm going to assert that Cheddar is available. So if I run this test, this gives us away a little bit. This test will fail. Okay. The reason for that is that this front-end that I made depends on a publicly available API. And the data in that API is often changed, updated, whatever.
You're not in control of the backend yourself.
I'm not in control. So the test fails because I was checking for Cheddar. Cheddar isn't available anymore. But what I could do is take Gorilla, for example, change my test.
That's a nice pet, Gorilla.
Gorilla, yeah. Change my test, save it, and then if I would rerun this again, then I have to hope that the page hasn't changed.
Then I guess it will succeed because we just saw the Gorilla.
Exactly. So
there it is again.
There's a Gorilla, so now if I close this, I have a green test.
Yeah, nice.
Up-de-dory. So, but you wouldn't want to do this every time because, well, like I said, you're dependent on somebody else's system. Yeah. So what Playwright then does is...
you want to have an isolated test set that is consistent for the span of control that you have.
Exactly. So I have to change this to localhost real quick. But what this test does is almost the same. I also search for pets. I check the same status, but in this case you see that I mock tests. So what Playwright does, Playwright spins up Chromium or Firefox. Yes. It intercepts the call that you specify to wherever, and then inserts whatever you specify here.
So it really hooks in the back end of the browser.
Yep.
When the application is running in the browser.
Yep.
It intercepts the network traffic
to
that API.
So what it does is it has a route option. So if it detects that the page will route to whatever I put in here, then it says, okay, don't do the call, but inject whatever I put in this route fulfill. I can give it different statuses. I can give it a different payloads. It's whatever you would like. So if I I can
so you really match that URL to petstore.swagger.io with everything in it, and you say, okay, if that call is made, just return a 200 with this result.
Exactly. So that's what I did. So now we still have pending, and now I have a mock dog and mock cat.
That's a different result than what we saw.
Exactly. But what if I change this? If I change the route, for example, then it doesn't match anymore, and then it will just call the backend as normally, but it won't inject my custom data. So this will actually fail. See, the gorilla is still there, and the test will, it will time out after 30 seconds, or in this case 5 seconds, and it will fail.
Yeah.
So this is how you would inject your own code, and this you can run in a pipeline, for example, so it will always succeed. Or even better, you could do this in your build pipeline. If you build your front end, mock all your calls, and then you're done.
It also makes it possible for front-end developers to fully create a front-end without the back-end being available yet, and then...
Exactly.
And if you want to have that end-to-end integration testing, then you just remove the mocking.
You remove the mocking, and the good thing is that you can use your same tests, because in an integration test environment, you have control. Hopefully, you have control over your data.
If it's your own API, if it's your own backend.
Exactly. Then you should have, this is a public API, so it's a little bit different. But then you can just reuse your tests. Now, and in here you can see that I use the route fulfill inside the test. So my test starts here, and then I give it the data that it needs. You wouldn't do this in a production environment. You would abstract it away. For example, if I use a mocks fixture, so I extended my test class, and I put in, I can show you, but it doesn't really matter. I extended away the fixture, so the data.
Yeah, I can imagine that you create one file with all the mocks and say, okay, if this is the route, then this will be the result, and if this is the route, then you have that fully in control in one place.
Exactly, and you can make it as modular as you would like. You can make you can add wildcards and everything. For all the capabilities, just read the documentation. It's all in there. It's on the Playwright.dev website. It's very extensive. I must say that the Typescript version is a bit more integrated, or has more capabilities than the C# version.
Okay.
But they try to keep up and catch up.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But the biggest problem, you briefly said, it would be able for a front-end developer to create the website before the backend is ready.
Yeah.
But the difficult thing is always,
how does the backend look?
What is the structure? What is the structure of your request or your response? Because
that's your contract, right?
That's your contract. And in a ideal world, you have a Swagger definition. So you talk with your stakeholders. You agree upon a format. And then the backend team goes to implement that format. And you go to implement it and go about implementing the format. And Swagger is a nice tool for both developers and for testers. You just copy your contract. That's what I did. I just copied this because this is a public API, and I pasted it in my editor. And ChatGPT made up a second one, so that's wonderful.
Dogs, cats.
Yeah, it's almost the same. Sense. But the difficulty is when you don't have a backend, or
if you don't have your open API specifications.
If you don't have anything, and then you have to go about it the old-fashioned way. You just go to your front end. If I can get it back, there we go. And just intercept the call like this. So I go to pending, I search for bets, I get my gets because of and then I can just see what the header is, what the status is going to be, and what the response is going to be, and then you can take your object from here and put it in your code in that way.
Yeah, but for that you need the actually working API to be available as well, right?
Yeah,
because
that's
then
true.
You intercept the actual calls and make up your own mocking based on that.
And there's a lot of tools that can record or playback. Playwright can do this as well. You can record HAR files.
Okay.
It's a file.
Is that some kind of video?
No, it's a call stack. It's a complete call stack. Chrome and Chromium does a lot. So everything you see here in your network tab is recorded. It's packaged into a file. What you can do is export that file from your browser and then import it into Playwright, so you can use it as a setup, and you can go from there.
Okay, that's really helpful.
Yeah, that's about it. So be independent from your backend and your frontend. Ideally, you have documentation. If you don't, you have to figure it out yourself. But it's as easy as taking it from take the URLs from your network tab, take your response from the body from the response tab, and fill it in Playwright, and there you go.
That's great. Yeah. I really can see that helping in the project when we try to have as much full stack developers as possible, so they work on the front end and the back end simultaneously, or implement a feature vertically so that it is fully available. But if the teams are more separated, or the back end is provided by an external party, then this would really be
and even in your you can integrate it in different pipelines. You don't have to be reliant on end-to-end tests all the time.
And this is not the same as unit testing your front end, right?
No, this is a little bit. This is more like an integration test. Yeah. So a unit test would be, if I take this as example, if I use this drop down, it should enable the button, for example. This button is always enabled, but that should be a unit test, because that's a small.
Look at the small and individual components.
Exactly.
Clear?
Well, wonderful.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here and explaining this, and thank you all for watching. And see you next time. Bye.
Bye.